Alright, this is a tutorial on how to use the GT4 Day-Night Cycle mod. This is your folder once you unzip it. Use WinRAR or whatever to unzip it. We have two folders here. We have Circuit of Sarthe and Nürburgring, an exe file, and the README. This is the main bulk of the mod slash program slash whatever you want to call it. You need the PCSX2 Emulator and a copy of Gran Turismo 4, obviously. Pretty sure any version works, but I've only tested the NTSC and the Spec-II Mod slash online public beta versions. First, let's start with the source folder option. This is basically just the folder where you'll be pulling your texture mods from. By default, it is set to the same folder as where the exe is, which comes with the Circuit of Sarthe and Nürburgring textures already in the folder. You can set this to be anywhere else. For most cases, just leave it as is. Okay. Next thing is the target folder. This is basically going to be your directory of your PCSX2 textures folder. And inside that textures folder, you want to go into the games texture folder, or whatever the game's serial number is. By default, your PCSX2 textures folder will be in the documents folder, like somewhere in here. And it should say PCSX2. But for me, I have it in its own folder. Same with the emulator's actual exe file. So just pretend that this is the documents folder, and it'll be under the same name in the documents part, and just go to textures, and this is what you should see. Or maybe if you have no textures, you won't see any folders here. For example, if you have the Spec-II mod, your folder will most likely be this SCSU 97436, this one. This is Spec-II. If you have the NTSCU or the USA version, it will be 97328. And if you don't know how to get this, if you don't have any folders here and you don't know how to get the name, the serial name for it, basically what you do is just go to your game in PCSX2, go to properties, and then in summary it should say the serial number. Basically, if you don't have anything, just make a folder named this in the textures folder and it'll work. If, for example, we're using Spec-II, we're going to set this target to, and then Spec-II would be this one, the 436 at the end. Set that there. You won't have any of these. If you don't have a replacements folder, just make it a folder here and title it replacements, exactly like this. And you want to set that as your final destination. Now that you have the target game textures folder selected, you can go down to the level select here, and you get two options as of right now. You get Circuit of Sarthe and Nürburgring, same as these two folders. Basically, just select what level you're going to be playing when you're doing your endurance races or whatever. Let's do Circuit of Sarthe, and then basically the last setting here is the mode setting. Got the sync with real clock and the fixed interval setting. Sync with real clock means it will sync with your system clock. So right now it's 9 p.m. for me. Basically, you'll take that 9 p.m. time and then it'll set it to be 9 p.m. inside the game. And it will change every hour. So once this turns to 10 p.m., it will change to the 10 p.m. textures and get darker and darker, of course, until 4 a.m. or whatever, it starts getting brighter again. Basically, this is the mode you want to be using if you're playing A-Spec only endurance races, or you just want it to be synced with your real system time. The fixed interval setting has more options though. So basically, interval, a custom interval you can set. By default, it would be 60 minutes, which means 1 hour in real life is going to be 1 hour in the game. If you set this to be like 10 minutes, for example, it means every 10 minutes that passes will be an hour in the game. So, you know, in 60 minutes, you'll get through 6 hours inside Gran Turismo 4, essentially. And of course, you can use decimals too. So you run it really fast. For a demonstration, we can use 2.5 or something. And here is the speed multiplier for B-Spec. So basically, when you're using B-Spec, you can, you know, increase this time multiplier. In the original game, you can only go to 8. With cheat codes, you can go up to 16. So I added up to 16. Just set this whenever you're racing, this is dynamic, so you don't have to worry about pressing the start button again. You just keep changing it to whatever you want, and it'll transfer over. And of course, this is going to be the start time. Basically, let's just set it to be like 1 p.m. for example. This is going to be what the starting time inside the game will be. Of course, the final option is this texture reloading, and you can set this to be anything. So let's say Control-Shift-S, or I don't know, V, but for default it's F7, and this basically just reloads the textures in game whenever the interval has passed. So whenever like 20 seconds have passed, this will be pressed twice to reload the textures. So default set to F7, and then go into your PCSX2, and then go to hotkeys, scroll all the way down, and go to toggle texture replacements. Okay, not the reload texture replacement, it's gotta be a toggle, because this one works better without any glitches. Okay, and then you're gonna want to add your binding to F7. Just press this, press F7, and then it should work. This is required to do, you have to do this, otherwise it won't change the textures automatically. And of course, this is pretty much done on this side. Just make sure that in your game, go to properties, whichever Gran Turismo 4, doesn't matter. Go to the graphics, go to texture replacements here, and make sure these two have a check mark. It needs to have check mark. Load textures and asynchronous texture loading, make sure those are on, because obviously you want to load your textures, right? I recommend starting the game and then starting this, but you can do whenever. Because I have an interval set so low, this is gonna like lag the hell out of my system when I'm starting the game, so I'm just gonna start this later. Open Gran Turismo 4, and we will test it. Here we are in Circuit of the Sarthe. We have the program open. Okay, what you basically want to do before you press the start button is you want to click into the game and make sure the game is in focus, because once the program presses the F7 button, or the texture reload button, if it's not in focus, it won't reload the textures, it won't do anything. So make sure the cursor is clicked into the game and nothing else, just like the game window, and that's it. So press start, it's running. Okay, click on the game, you have a 5-second delay after it copies the folder. You see it copies 10 AM, and there's 5 seconds before it presses the F7 button. And then once you're in the game, it reloads the textures, you're good. Okay, it's copied 11 AM, the interval set for 1/3 of a minute, just to show you. Now it's 11 AM. Every time the next copy shows under 15 seconds, it'll glow red, just to warn you that it might change soon. I find it a little bit off every time the interval is set this low, because it doesn't include the delay into account. That's just something I might work out. But yeah, if under like 60-minute intervals or anything like 30 minutes or something, it'll be fine. The next copy will be pretty accurate. That's 2 PM. Let's copy the folder. It's going to change it. F7. You see the texture reload is actually pretty quick, and I have a bad computer, so if you have something better, it'll be even faster. In an actual endurance race, it might be slower because there's just more cars on track. When I was streaming the 24 Hours of Le Mans earlier, we had a pretty big issue with the texture loading. It took us like a minute for the textures to finally load. So the game was frozen for a minute, and that's just, I think, because I was streaming, and streaming on this like old PC is kind of just like kind of a mess. But yeah, for most cases, like, you'll be fine. This thing will load pretty quickly. It'll load even quicker if you have like less textures in your texture folder. So if you're not running the HD texture pack, or if you're not running the HD HUD textures, it'll load even quicker. Like, it's basically just limited to PCSX2 and your computer, and that's it, because the program itself is decently optimized. It's doing the best that it can do. See, it might take you a second just to load everything. But yeah, no, it's pretty quick in most cases. 7 p.m. it's gonna load it. There you go, this is 7 p.m. in-game. Of course, if you really wanted to, you could pause it. Hold on, I might just wait for this to pass. The interval is so low. Now it's 8 p.m. If you pause this and keep driving, it won't change. It will pause the timer. This won't work on sync with your clock mode because it's obviously gonna want to sync all the time with your system clock, or at least every hour. Of course, if we start it again, or sorry, don't press the start button, I'm sorry. That's gonna reset the entire program. So now when it changes over, it's gonna change to 10 a.m. again. Or, yeah, 10 a.m. again. So whenever you pause, press the resume button. Don't press the start button, it resets it. Press start button to reset it. It'll change to 8 p.m. And then it's going to do that reload every 5-second delay. You see how this keeps going. Man, this car is actually like really good. It's 11 p.m. It's starting to get darker. If it ever gets too dark for your setup, you can always pause, go to screen settings here, and then just control your brightness from there. Of course, one of the limitations right now is that we have no headlights. There's a headlight cheat code that you can activate. Here, I'll even show you. Headlights are on, headlights are off. You see the taillights there? Headlights are on. And, you know, if you look from behind, you can see the headlights are actually on. But the problem is that the cheat code doesn't really give any lighting. It just gives the state of the headlights being on and off. So that's a limitation that I want to fix eventually. So right now, there's no headlights. You could maybe get something that work with a reshade setup. So you see, there's reshade. You have reshade installed. You can maybe mess around with this, but you know. And of course, the second limitation is the sun there. You can't get rid of the sun, and I don't think you can get rid of the flare around the sun. We've tried to mess with some emulator settings, didn't work. The cheat code to disable the sun flare only disables the texture around the sun. It doesn't actually change the glow of the sun. Here, I'll show you. That glow will always be there. This is 5 AM, starts to get brighter. But yeah, just pretend it's very bright. You know, I don't know if that can be fixed, to be honest. If it can be, that'd be nice, but I can't find anything that resembles that texture when I was dumping it, so the sun will be staying that way, this way, really bright. Okay, I'll turn off reshade. On some tracks, the sun doesn't glow like that. Like for example, I think I want to say Twin Ring Motegi is like that. Of course, Special Stage Route is like that as well. There's no sun. So on some tracks, we'll be better off. I think Nürburgring has less sun glow than Sarthe. Sometimes the HUD can take a bit to load in if you're running the HD HUD. Occasionally you'll get an error. I'm not sure what is causing it, but everything works fine still. Like you'll see when it switches the textures. When it copies 9 AM, it should work. Yep. If you get the error and nothing happens, maybe just restart the program on the same start time as whatever you left off. So right now, you would set that to 8 AM if AM didn't work. I think this issue only happens with fixed interval. I'm not sure why it happens. I couldn't figure out. Sync with your clock seems to work all the time. It also might be because the interval is so low, like 30 seconds, 20 seconds. Obviously when you have something like this, it's like gonna glitch it out a little bit. If you're running 60 minutes like you should be, it'll be fine. And we are back at noon. This is noon. And that's basically the whole skybox that we just went through. Now let's try this out in Nürburgring. Let's say you're running B-Spec or you change to B-Spec driver during the race. Of course, you know, when you go to the this menu, you can change the speed of the speed multiplier, as you can see here, right? You can also do this on the program. So every time you change the speed, let's say let's change it to 8 times speed. You can also do the same in here, and this will be 8 times as fast. Of course, working. It supports up to 16 times if you have the sheet code for that. Of course, once you go back to 1 time speed in the game or something, you can change it back to 1 time speed and it will progress as normal. And that's basically how the B-Spec mode works. It's just multiplier that you can put on and off, and it changes dynamically. And that's pretty much it for the mod. I'll just show off the rest of the skyboxes here for Nürburgring. Again, sometimes you'll get an error. I'm not sure why. It doesn't do anything, really. It won't really affect anything. And here's a demonstration with actual race, or like an actual race. Of course, this is 2 PM in the game. The skyboxes for Nürburgring are different during the day. The night times are the same, but I did pick up some different skyboxes. Sorry for my driving, I haven't driven on the controller for like a while. I'll just run through a lap of Nürburgring with dynamic time. And maybe I can win this one lap. There goes the Mustang. Of course, be careful whenever it changes. Again, the timer can be off when the intervals are slow. Save state a lot. Make sure the game doesn't freeze, and if it does, you can roll back. It's 6 PM, trying to catch up to whatever this car is. Oops. I used to know what that is. What is that? Oh god! These are 8 PM. The foxhole. Oh god. Man, what are these tires? They must be like hard tires or something. Of course, the game stutters a little bit. But you see when, if you're watching the stream, you know you know that whenever this changed every hour, it would take a minute to load the textures, and it was like frozen. The game was completely frozen for a minute. And I think that's mostly down to just the stream being hard to keep up on my computer, because my computer is pretty old and it really isn't a streaming computer. You know, I don't stream at all. So this is what the actual speed of it would be in your case if you're just playing the game. You see, it takes literally like less than 5 seconds, maybe like 2 seconds max to load the textures, even in the race. It works well. This is your midnight. Of course, the cars also stay lit up. that's just how it is unless you change the textures of every single car and make it darker. Of course, that would take way too long. You'd need like some automated service to do that. And also, if you were to swap the textures constantly for the cars, that would also take forever for your computer to do, because of course it copies the textures from the folder, and it's just a giant file size like sync. So I've opted that all those are just too big of an issue to deal with having darker cars. You see the taillights are on though because of that cheat code that I was talking about. So even if it is dark like this part, you can still see them, because otherwise you would not be able to. Of course, there's your moon, quote unquote. Now it's 4 AM, it's starting to get brighter. Nighttime is kind of short from what I've set the textures to. You can adjust it yourself if you just mess around with the folders inside. I will show you how to make your own track and your own texture folders for any track. It's not hard, it just takes a lot of time, but it's actually quite easy, especially if you already use those skyboxes that it comes with. You don't have to mess around finding your own skyboxes. Here's your 7 AM. Come on, let's catch up to this guy. Sometimes the top of the skyboxes, if you have your FOV set really high, it'll look buggy like that. If you have like a normal FOV, like this is a normal FOV, you won't be able to see it. I just like running really high FOVs. But look, it looks a lot better like this, honestly, if I'm being honest. What a weird car to drive. I'm really close to this RX-8, but I can't seem to catch up the guy in first, so I don't know. Oh, I kind of fucked that up. Ah, shit. Come on! Holy shit, I can't catch up to him! Just barely faster than the dude. Alright, I'm going to show you how to use the SDK kit that comes with the program. I guess it doesn't come with it, but it's like a side thing you can download if you want to create your own skyboxes and tracks for Gran Turismo 4, Gran Turismo 3, any PCSX2 game, probably, maybe even DuckStation games like Gran Turismo 1 or 2. You just need like some image editing knowledge, and basically that's all you really need. You just need, I use paint.net for example. We're gonna have this open. I'll show you just how to do it. Alright, first step is to take this template level. This template level will include the file structure needed to be recognized by the GT4 alpha mod. Each one of these names actually represents an hour. So this is 1 AM and 24 is midnight. I know this should technically be 0, but whatever. 24 is midnight. This is 10 AM. This is 8 PM. This is military time, obviously. And this is where you're going to be wanting to put your textures inside here. This kit comes with some few textures. Here you have custom suns. So we got no sun flare. We got a moon actually, and less sun flare. Less moon flare. You can use any of these, or you can just ignore it. It's not really necessary, especially if you use the disable sun flare cheat on PCSX2. You won't even see this. Next part is the skyboxes. This is a set of skyboxes that I got. You can use these textures. I recommend using the timed ones, but if you want like fully unedited ones, here are the raw skyboxes. Here's the times ones. Common ones for number 2, which is, this is actually for the Nürburgring track. They are a bit darker, they're dimmed. They're already pre-edited like that. Time for this one, you might have to dim this one, just to make it, you know, less bright in game. And moving on, we have the track's darkness level. Now this will tell you how to really do this, but basically I'll give you a rundown. So what you want to do is you want to go in the game and dump textures. Now this is a tutorial online on how to dump textures in PCSX2. Basically, you want to go here, go to properties in your game, go to graphics, go to texture space, and enable dump textures. And you can enable dump minmaps if you want, but this is really all you need. Like that. And then you want to go into your game, go into the track you want, maybe dump, like enable this then, so you don't have like textures that you don't need. And then just drive around the track, get as many camera angles, as many different perspectives as possible, and just drive around for like 30 minutes or something until you've dumped every single texture in the game or in the track that you want. Say Suzuka, for example. What's that going to do is it's going to create inside your game serial number folder. It's going to create a folder called dumps, and basically you're just going to find a bunch of textures in here, and they're going to relate to the track that you just jumped. You might have some cars in there too, or whatever car you're driving, you might have that dumped. Just ignore those, delete those. But you want to focus on these textures, like this grass, this barrier. You have like stuff like this. This is part of the Sarthe track. This is also part of it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you just want like stuff like this. And then you gotta gather all those files, right? And then you gotta copy them inside a folder, label it 0. You gotta put all your textures in a folder called 0. Just like paste them, okay? And once you have all those textures, it should look something like this. It's gonna look like this, right? Where you have all your textures for that one track. Now what you're gonna do is you wanna copy, and then you wanna paste. For example, if I make a thing called Suzuka, you don't have to do this here, you can do it anywhere. Of course, this is 0. Now, you copy this, and let's say, you can keep this unlabeled for now, but you're gonna wanna open all these textures, and open them in Paint.net, or whatever photo editing software you use. For my example, I'll use Paint.net. And you wanna do Control-Shift-U, just to get the brightness. Set this to like, let's say -20 for example, right? To confirm, do this for every single texture. You might have to click on it again. And do that for every single texture, and then you're gonna wanna save all. And once every single texture, you know, you might have hundreds of textures is saved, then you want to label this folder. For example, -20 is what we did, -20 brightness, and then you want to copy this and then do the same for -40 or -50 or whatever, basically until you have enough brightness levels. Now for Gran Turismo 4 specifically, I wouldn't go lower than -90 brightness, because that's just like super dark at that point. I want to say like 85 maybe is the sweet spot. And once you've done that, then you can, you know, copy every single texture. Let's say 0. It's going to be really bright, right? Copy all these, and then go into your level, template, whatever the hell you want, and go to any of the skyboxes that are going to be really bright. Let's say this one, you know, 10 p.m. is going to be really bright. 11 p.m., 12 p.m., all this, you know, they're going to be all full brightness. And just copy all the textures there, and then of course when it starts to get darker, copy the -20 textures or the -10 textures, or when it's midnight, copy the -80 textures, basically, if you get what I mean. And once you have that, then you're gonna want to get the skybox dump. I'm sorry, make sure your skyboxes are not part of what the brightness thing you just did. I mean, you could do it, but it'd be weird. Basically, your skyboxes are going to be their separate thing. I'll show you. This is going to be dumped in the same folder as the dumps folder, as everything else. But, you know, you're going to find very specific textures. These ones, the skyboxes, they're not gonna look like this obviously, but you're gonna have, there's 4 of them. There's 2 main ones, left and right. There's one that's for reflections, and there's gonna be one for the mirror, like the rear view mirror. It's gonna have its own texture. I recommend using like higher resolutions, like in the thousands, so that, you know, see, this is 1920 by 1080. This wide one is 1920 by 1080 times 2. Use like high quality skyboxes so that you can actually, you know, see it in game without being pixelated. You want to get those, separate those from all these textures, by the way, like all these other ones, and you're going to want to edit every single skybox for every hour. Of course, there is the skyboxes here that you can use to edit every single one. It won't fit right away, you're gonna have to do some editing, but yeah, basically that is that. And then once you're done making those skyboxes, inside your template folder, just put it to your corresponding skybox. So if it was 8 AM that you just did, put the skybox here for AM and put the brightness level. Let's say maybe it might be -10 brightness for 8 AM, I don't know. And once you have that, it's gonna look like this. And that hour is done. Move on to the next hour. It's gonna look like this, slightly brighter. The skyboxes are different, as you can see. And that's basically how you do it. Just give a quick rundown. It's not complicated, but you know, it's pretty time consuming to do. That's why I've only made these 2 to start with. But if you want to make your own, you could. That's how you do it. And of course, I forgot to mention, once you're done, you're gonna want to put your template folder in here, and then once you launch this, whatever the folder this folder is in, set your source folder. But if you put it the same as the exe file, it's just gonna be down here. It's gonna show up. You see.